Hi, everyone. So we have Evelyn Hecht here today with us, PT and CEO of Pelvic Sense. Welcome, Evelyn. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for hosting this.
Thank you. So we're going to dive right into all the good things that you have to share with us today. So we've been talking about, pelvic floor therapy. We've been talking about incontinence and UTIs and all of the things that, us women think that, hey, this is just what we have to deal with now. I've had a baby, I've been in sports. This is something I've been dealing with my whole life. So it's just something that, I've kind of brushed under the rug and put to the back of the priorities list, especially, when you have your career, when you have, other things to deal with, children, all the things get in the way and you end up putting that to the back of the list. So why do some women experience years, of this, incontinence and the UTIs and all of these different things, perhaps decades like me. I'm here 40 years old and I've been dealing with this my whole life. Why do you think that we deal with that? Perhaps, the decades of chronic pelvic pain when medical tests can't even find, the definite cause of it.
Right. Was there a background noise? I'm sorry. Well, to answer your great question, this has been a massive question for most medical professionals. Why do some women present with UTI histories and dyspareunia, various levels of chronic pelvic pain? And they've been to the medical testings, they've done the due diligence, they've visited their physicians, they've gotten tests, and the tests say negative. There's really nothing medically, biomedically that we can find that's creating this. So that right away starts a pattern of, oh no, the doctors can't find it. What's wrong with me? Why am I having this? And so the search starts of years of looking for specialists, or like you mentioned, the search goes inward, like, well, there must be something wrong with me because I'm not sharing this information with any of my friends or even my family. So there must be something wrong with me. So I got to keep it real quiet and I'm going to get really scared and anxious and depressed about this. So either it's a sucking in and holding in, oh no, because the doctors can't find anything, or the trips to visit so many specialists over the years without any results, with surgeries may not have helped, or various medications might mitigate or lower some of the symptoms, but still doesn't do the work. So why is this? Well, in the last 15 years, 10 or 15 years, the world of understanding, the science of understanding, well, why does somebody have chronic pain, has really opened the doors and has helped us understand the reasons why some women and men have chronic pelvic pain is because it gets into the nervous system and the brain. When the brain is picking up there's something dangerous, or even a social anxiety or a psychological threat, if there has been an injury or a issue in one area of the body, like the pelvis or the lower back or migraines or neck pain, that's where the brain says, oh, something's threatening you, whether it be a fight with your husband or an altercation with a friend or, work mishap. The brain says, oh, something's wrong. I'm going to send her pain signals to let her know something's wrong. It's almost like a hyperprotective response. So part of the issue of understanding why is there chronic pain is because a lot of it's in the nervous system and brain. And if one takes a look at the MRIs, the functional MRIs of the brain, you can see right now that there is a lot of activity in these alarm systems of the brain, a lot of firing of the neurons there. And the executive part of the brain, the chill out, hey, I'm gonna guide you, tell you what to do. That area is like super quiet. Almost the cells there in the executive brain almost like atrophy, so they can't tell the alarm brain to chill out. It's you're not in real danger. You don't have to send pain signals to the body. So a lot of the work that we're learning to do, and I've seen in my own personal practice as a pelvic physical therapist, since I incorporated this education about pain neuroscience and the fact there is ability to change, there is such an amazing amount of hope. And I've also seen some amazing improvements with women who have had longstanding UTIs, longstanding dyspareunia, endometriosis, who's had good surgeries, but they still have pain. It's because we're now addressing the brain and nervous system. So that has been amazing in our process of healing.
Yeah, I mean, so many women do deal with it, and then sometimes it's a symptom of something else. And so we're like, okay, well, I did fall pretty hard, off of that diving board. Um, I did have a child, years back, and I did have some symptoms, but I didn't really, it didn't bother me then. But now I see the effects of it now. And sometimes, when you're not able to figure out exactly what it is, you think you have a UTI, but then you go to the doctor and they're like, no, you don't. You didn't test for a UTI. So then you're left thinking what it could be. And it definitely could be something neurological as opposed to something physically, something wrong with you.
Exactly. So the looking for over years of having some symptoms, if you're still looking for the biomedical cause, the tissue cause, there's the dead end. But the whole world of biopsychosocial approach, well, what maybe during your day, or how are you thinking during your day? What are you having more negative thoughts, or do you have like little spurts of positives? What are you thinking about yourself? Are you looking for things to be grateful for? There's lots of small little techniques that one can do to start to retrain the brain and nervous system to be more happy, to send more chemicals that are feel-good chemicals to the body. So there's a more cohesiveness, a more togetherness than that.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love that positive thinking and techniques that you can use to get more of that, whether it's breathing or just affirmations or just training your mind to think in a more positive way.
Right. And we're not talking like you have to spend, 5 hours a day doing meditation. We're talking
Right.
small bits, mind exercises and body exercises. And again, some education, understanding why one has chronic symptoms. Those three things in my program, I'll just jump in with pelvic sense. This is what I include in my program, a trio of healing skills to really allow a person to now move forward, to make an understanding that they have the ability to heal. The brain is neuroplastic. The nervous system can change. You're not set in stone. And that's really been the best thing ever.
Yes, and I'm so happy that you mentioned pelvic sense and then you mentioned some techniques that you do with your patients. So what are some techniques that you teach all of your patients to reduce pelvic bladder pain specifically?
Yes. One of the simplest things that you can do at home, again, is something within 4 or 5 minutes, is to do something called diaphragmatic breathing, which I think has been getting a lot more Zoom time, a lot more information around the world about the importance of diaphragmatic breathing. And this is a couple of different techniques that incorporates deep breath work. And what that does, it actively initiates the rest and digest nervous system, called the parasympathetic nervous system. So when doing diaphragmatic breathing, you're elevating that aspect of our autonomic nervous system to be more prevalent. Typically, people in chronic pelvic pain, UTIs, bladder pain, their sympathetic nervous system or the fight flight nervous system is super elevated, higher levels of that going on versus that quieting, rest, digest, feel really good. So diaphragmatic breathing automatically stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. So doing 5 deep, quiet breaths to your tolerance can start right away a few times a day, can elevate, ask that parasympathetic to come up. And when one comes up, the sympathetic totally shuts down. That's just the way it works. Either you have the parasympathetic, the calm, rest, digest, or the anxious, fight, flight, sympathetic. They could never can work together at the same time. It's either one or the other. So diaphragmatic breathing.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I mean, how could you do one one with the other? It's so like mentally you have to concentrate on either one or the other. So that
Mhm.
makes sense. So one of the things that I mentioned in the very beginning is that a lot of us women, we kind of brush things under the rug because there are some certain things that need our attention, um, that don't include our health all the time. But I find that now that we've been in COVID lockdown and we've had a chance to kind of, um, take time for ourselves, like really like focus on ourselves. And I know that self care is like the most important care, because if you have your self care and you're taking care of yourself, then you're better to take care of others. So, what is one self care exercise that encourages a decrease of pelvic pain?
Well, another beautiful exercise to do is a quieting, a guided body scan. There are so many beautiful apps out there now, and even on YouTube. And my program, Pelvic Sense, also incorporates a guided body scan. And this is probably maybe 10, 15 minutes, sometimes 5, depending on your skill set and your time wise, where you basically will focus on each part of your body and notice just the sensation that you have there. So if you're lying on your back and your head's resting on the pillow, noticing the weight of the head against the pillow, the softening of your eyebrows, the relaxation of your jaw. And you work yourself down from your face to the shoulders, allowing the shoulders to nestle slowly downward, the shoulder blades sink further into the support of the bed, the weight of the arms feeling more heavy. You bring yourself with every part of your body focusing on that. And while you're focusing on it's where it is or the sensation of it, you're also allowing no judgment of the sensations you're feeling there. So by the time you work down to your pelvic region, where for a lot of women that's been an area of, I don't want to think about it, or I don't like it, or I hate it, I wish it was not here, take it out. You you can notice the sensations you have there without judgment. Like, oh, there's a little bit of prickly sensation. Okay. Oh, there's a little bit of warmth in that area. It's just noticing without judging, and then moving on to your hips, your buttocks, your legs. So it's almost like a 5 to 10 minute, either guided by yourself, you're directing your thoughts, or by listening to an outside source leading you there. And that automatically, again, it just brings a sense of everything is safe. I'm feeling calm. The anxiety level just naturally just goes down or goes away, even if it's just for a few minutes. That is a very important tool to do, I suggest, really every morning before you start your day. It allows you to have a day of, I can do it, it's okay, and I'm safe.
Yeah, and I love the idea of calming the body. This isn't something that's more stress on your body. This is getting you in the mind frame of calming down. And like you said, and that I love what you said, because everybody wants convenience. Everybody wants, nobody wants to, have another chore or something added to their list. But this is something for you to
Yes.
calm your body and get ready for the day. And 5 or 15 minutes is not long at all when you think about all the time you spend doing everything else throughout the day.
Yes.
So,
And I think the aspect about self-care for women, I mean, it's almost ingrained socially that we're not supposed to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our husband, our children, our jobs, the sweeping, the cooking. Oof, girl.
exactly. It's exhausting thinking about it, right?
Oh my God. So yeah, so there, the when you take care of yourself first, then you can take care of others. And it's not an easy steps. Now, yeah, I'll just do that. I understand there's a social connection with it, but we're in the Me Too moment. We're in the energy of shift and change, so we can incorporate that gently to our partners and our children. That let's have you help take care of yourself too. And
Yeah.
I think as role models for our children, when they see that their parent, their mom, can take care of herself, then they're less stressed too, because they no doubt pick up the stress that you have about cleaning, running, doing, working.
That's very true. That's very true. And I noticed that with my son. If I'm having a very busy, hectic day, then he's having a busy, hectic day as well.
Right.
So it kind of goes off of my energy. So that makes a whole lot of sense there.
Yes. Yes.
So now, a part of my journey is that I've been experiencing urinary health issues my whole life. And, there's been a lot of things that I've isolated myself from, anything from family events or meeting my friends out, not being able to even stay at a full basketball game, for my son. And I mean, even worse, like when I had the worst of incontinence, I couldn't even leave the house without having a major accident. And I just wondered, what the heck could I be doing to, improve this so that I could get back to the daily activities even that I was doing. I couldn't even go to meetings or, um, you know, anything really, for work. And I found myself outside the home a lot. Um, so how can women safely return back to doing their activities that they've avoided, like me, my everyday activities? I've had to cancel meetings due to my bladder issues and further my pelvic issues. So
Right.
what are some things that you suggest?
Well, certainly, I'm going to talk about something called graded motor imagery or visualization. But before I even talk about that, it is important that when you get an understanding of why am I having these bladder issues, and that's a real key in the whole, as I mentioned before, about understanding why does the brain send distress, either in form of pain or an urgency to go to the bathroom or a prickly, burny, itchy sensations. Any of these distressful sensations come from the brain to your body, especially if you've had years of distress of this area. It's just the way the brain works. It's going to be like a helicopter parent. It's going to send symptoms of distress because that makes you, human body, go and take care of things. But it's not very healthy. If the brain is acting like a helicopter parent, that's a very unhealthy thing for the brain to do. So what, my techniques that I teach, really, they work in conjunction with each other. So understanding, again, the pain neuroscience, why does the brain send this? Why does the nervous system behave like this? Why is my bladder behaving like this? There are understandings of that. Second, then, is that you're starting to do some of these diaphragmatic breathing exercises, guided body scans, small things, but done consistently. And then you're also starting to incorporate some physical body movement so that the brain says, hey, I haven't been able to stretch my inner thigh muscles for so long because I've always had some like nervousness about it. I thought it might trigger some like symptoms, but
Yeah.
starting to incorporate, right? But starting to incorporate some body movement. So it's educational understanding, mind exercise, and body exercises. All those together will start to help to reverse the tendency for what you have. But I'm going to get specific. If you have an issue, let's say, for example, you have a work meeting and you're afraid you're going to have an accident, or you're afraid you're going to have pain while you're at the meeting. You can't handle the meeting, which is totally understandable. I do something called graded motor imagery, where, for example, you find a photo of yourself or of another person sitting in a board meeting. And you look at that person, and you look at that photo, and you visualize that person having complete continence, easy, no discomfort, no pain, no distress. And you can imagine that person being able to speak with ease, with a good voice, with no nagging at the back end, like, uh-oh, I got to go to the bathroom. So that's not there. So you're starting to use your imagination of doing an activity and a movement. And what that does scientifically, it stimulates an area in the brain that is a virtual map of the body. And that virtual map of the bodies, those brain cells or neurons, as you're imagining, get stimulated. So the brain is starting to get stimulated by, hey, looking at a picture, seeing that other person in the boardroom having a presentation. It's not stressful for me, and I'm able to tolerate that. And then you would move on to thinking of yourself. You're sitting there and everything is good in that end. So you're imagining yourself doing that. And eventually you're training the brain to say, sitting in a board meeting for an hour and presenting is safe because you've done some training with that. So that's called graded motor imagery. Again, it's not something, it snaps, not easy to do. I mean, easy, you do it once and done. It takes practice, like anything, right? You're all about retraining that nervous system and brain to see movements, activities as safe. So it's a part of the process.
Yeah, so like exercise releases endorphins. But exercise was also something that I really enjoyed, but I couldn't do anymore. I used to do kickboxing actually, and I could no longer do it anymore. I've always had like a phobia of going to the gym and leaking, for lack of better words, which kept me from the gym. So I did a lot of things at home, but it wasn't the same as being around my fellow kickboxers, and just being at the gym and being able to improve my muscles that way, which brought me a lot of joy. And
Yeah.
because it was the release of those endorphins. So being able to get back to it would have been amazing. So we've talked about all of these things, and we've been mentioning pelvic sense, but can you talk more about that and tell us about pelvic sense?
Sure. So I've been a practicing physical therapist for about 25 years. And even though I've done this for a long time and I'm so excited to help so many thousands of women heal, but I still go into Facebook and look at the groups and read really just a lot of hopelessness still. And, the professional pelvic physical therapy is growing, which I'm so thrilled about, especially because there was not even one therapist outside of me in New York City doing this 25 years ago. And physicians are becoming more aware of it, and I'm seeing it more in the media. So this is all good stuff. But how many patients can I personally see? And a lot of patients have told me, people who wanted to come in, Evelyn, I can't travel to where you are. I can't sit in a car for more than 15 minutes. I don't know what to do. Or you're too far away for me to even think about coming in, or it's too expensive. So I wanted to reach more women to teach them what it is that they can do on their own at home. And I wanted to give them a guide, not just say, here, try these techniques and see what happens. I really wanted to give them what has helped my patients heal, what educational steps, what mind exercises, and what body movements, and how to progress them in the process so they get more flexible, they become more calm, they are becoming more confident, and learning techniques like graded motor imagery. So pelvic sense was born because of a need for more women to learn what they can do on their own at home. Our medical society is very geared towards what's wrong with the tissue. Where's the endometrial tissue? What's going on with the interior of the bladder? What's happening with vestibule? These are all good things. It's awesome. We need those. But there's been a missing piece. The missing piece is patient. Part of the healing you'll do, and you'll reach that 100% of healing or close to 100%, is what you do at home, self-care. Right. And so pelvic sense was born out of the need that more people, especially now, I'm not saying this is born out of COVID because it hasn't been, but it was born out of the need that more people wanted to learn what to do and just felt exasperated and not knowing what to do. So that's how it was born.
Yeah. So could you show us some examples of like how it works? And
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen and you'll see the Pelvic Sense logo. Can you see that?
Yes.
Great. All right. So basically Pelvic Sense, it's an online guided self-care program to help reverse pelvic symptoms. And that could be endometriosis, symptoms from UTIs, bladder pain, vulvodynia, constipation, IBS, IC. Everything I mentioned with these diagnoses, there's always a common denominator that I've learned over the 20-something years with patients. And we addressed them earlier, just before. So the program itself has 65 lessons in total. There are 20 move exercise videos, over 45 in total. There are 11 healing audio guides that I direct you into pelvic relaxation, some guided body scans, and there are a number of downloads and assessments that you can see, hey, am I making any progress? And when you go on to the program at pelvicsense.com, I'll introduce you to the program itself, how it's organized, what will I do, and 4 tips for success. And basically, it's structured that you will do a total of a full month of the program. Some people may take longer because they need to repeat things or they can't get to it for a few days. There's no pressure. This is a healing program that's based upon your ability to take care of yourself. So I've divided it into 4 different levels. And within each level, there are 5 sessions. So level 1 through level 4. And within the levels, there are 5 sessions. And each session, you're going to do 3 things. Like, for example, 5 sessions, you can do 1 session a day for 5 days in a week. Or you can do the same session a few times before you're moving on to the next. So you'll do what's called the learn, which I mentioned about understanding the science, rewiring, calming that nervous system and brain, and move. The first part is to understand the science of healing and the science of pain, and the ebook is incorporated as a free aspect of understanding pain. The educational models range from, why is sleep important? Does sleep become before pelvic pain, or does pelvic pain create sleep issues? I help you uncover what the deal is on sleep and how to get better sleep. Okay. What's about positive affirmations? Do I really have to say 50 positive affirmations? That's going to snap things back in place? No, it's going to give you a helpful guide towards it. It's not the only thing that will help you heal. And I talked about graded motor imagery. I also talk about how to get back to activities comfortably. And I talk a lot about pacing, how to pace your new activity you'd like to get to. And this is a sample of the text that this is about breathing. And I write it in a way that things are highlighted, meaning the breath. So our breath is a mirror of our body and mind. So it represents how we're feeling by the way we're breathing. And I'll go into more things. The rewire are audio guides and writing exercises. So we're going to go into pelvic relaxation, listening to that. I do a visualization to reduce pain. I go into tracking achievements and more with all this writing exercise and audio guides. And I won't go into a sample right now because I just wanted to move on. And the move are series of 20 videos, and there are about 6 to 8 exercises per video. So each session you might do 6 to 8. The first level is super easy. And I've learned that people really need to go to the basics. Let's start slow. If you're a runner, if you're a weightlifter and you're having pelvic issues, we need to get down to the basics. Can you do diaphragmatic breathing? Are you able to dissociate between your pelvis and lower back and do some pelvic rocking? What's constructive rest? And let's do that. So we do that together. And then we move onward. On the first level, you might be able to do the first 5 sessions in level 1 within a week. Hey, that's easy. But level 2 might be a little bit more challenging. So you may want to repeat level 2 or a few sessions of level 2 a few times because you may not be able to do all the stretching exercises. And as you get stronger and as we go on with the levels, I'll go into pelvic muscle recruitment, core stabilization. So we start from the basics and then move onward. I will just pass on the video sample for now. So when you're in the program for example, if you're in level 1 session 2, the learn activity will be about what's movement and activity. Why does the brain love when the body moves, and what happens to the brain when you do move? And so it helps you understand this is what's happening. And if I get sore after exercise, is that a good thing? Well, I explained to you about why soreness is healthy, but we have to be mindful of how much. Yeah. And then rewires exercises, sending kindness to your body, and move are the different processes as we mentioned before. And the other aspect that I want to just briefly mention is part of helping people get better is getting them back to doing activities. Like you mentioned, your kickboxing. How can we get you back to kickboxing without you having that fear? So we'll go slowly into taking baby steps. I'll give you an example of somebody who has a fearful movement. So let's say somebody says to me, every time I bend forward to pull a cupboard, pots out of a cupboard, I get searing lower back pain. And I remember my physician telling me, don't bend forward anymore because you're going to herniate more discs. So you have that kind of pattern running in your brain, like that's a dangerous position. But if I show you, if you can lie on your back and you bring your one knee up, the other knee up towards your chest, that's called lumbar flexion. Is that painful for you? Are you creating disc herniations with that? No. So we teach, the person says to me, I can actually do that. And that's called lumbar flexion. That's what I'm doing when I'm bending forward, standing up. What about sitting? And I have you sit on a chair and bending forward from there. You can do that. Your brain, it feels okay with that. So we're showing you that the brain can allow comfort and safety energies towards the body moving in things that you thought were bad or were going to cause problems. So a lot of this is part of the retraining aspect, is teaching a person how can they get back to their meaningful life activities and pace themselves to get there. So I'll just run through, there's a lot of little downloads and questionnaires that helps you figure out what to do. And one of the things I mentioned here is a gratitude journal. A lot of people say, I don't know what I'm grateful for. Well, I wrote out 100 things to be grateful for. Yeah. Yes. And chocolate is one of them. So,
That's where my eyes went. Right there.
Right. Totally. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to help yourself. You don't have to come up with it. Like, am I supposed to do? It's all written out for you. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of pelvic sense is that it is something that you can do on your own at home while you're seeing your physician, taking the medication that is needed. If you need the surgery, of course, obviously do what you medically need to do. But this is something that will enhance your healing skills. So I hope that this has been a little bit informative about the program of Pelvic Sense.
Yes, and there's so many aspects of pelvic sense that will be impactful and so beneficial. Just the little things. If you heard Evelyn was telling you just the little things that can be so impactful to you improving your urinary health, your pelvic health, and it doesn't take a lot of time. And she's made it very simple for you with all the questionnaires, things to get you thinking about things that might be triggers or things that you could be doing that can build on those little things, starting with the little things. And then further to give you some things, some ideas of what you may be able to be thankful for. Because a lot of us are so down in ourselves and we can't, see past that to even think about the little things that we're thankful for. And then one of the things, it was like number 20, but I'm telling you, like my eyes went right there to the chocolate, but just being like, a chocolate, what a difference. Just thinking about it. You're just thinking about chocolate. How does that make you feel? Pretty darn good, right? Yeah. So pelvic sense is here. And it's like, if I would have had pelvic sense, if I would have used this, to keep track, I kind of liken it to, how we keep track of our periods, our menstruals, and we're thinking about the different symptoms that cause our cramps this month, or maybe we did have low back pain, or maybe we did, have some soreness in places that we didn't have before, or maybe we had a headache. But now we're able to keep track and improve our pelvic health through pelvic sense.
I love that. Exactly right. And it's basically going to help you understand and also look at some of these small positive steps as really impactful. Our brains are wired to focus on the negative, and that's because it's a safety thing. It's a protective aspect. And so as human beings, we tend to poo-poo the positive. Oh, it's just a positive. But no, the more that we focus on that, the more we're going to attract it. The more you're going to feel those chills down your spine when you saw the little cat, when you pet your little pet cat and she was so happy. Or, when you watch the little child get like his ice cream cone. I mean, those are like this, look at that, savor those things. You want to add, the more you can get more chills of joy in your body, through your system, that's going to negate those pain chemicals. Those things are going to kick those pain chemicals out because you're producing so much more joy. And so, yeah, it's a natural societal inkling that we all have to look at negative and ponder on that because we're built that way. But we don't have to believe everything that our brain is thinking. That's a big impactful thing. And one of my patients has said, I used to believe anytime I would get a negative thought, I would dive. Whoa, I would jump into that hole and ponder it and really milk it and like, what if it? And we don't have to believe. We can say, thank you for sharing and move on.
That's so very true. And I'm so happy that you shared that. Like I said, so many of us, well, it's easier to go with the negative instead of uplift the positive. And it's just the little things that make all the difference. So, Evelyn, I do appreciate you joining us today. Can you please tell us how we can stay connected and where we can find Pelvic Sense and how we can stay in touch with you and interact with you?
Absolutely. My website is pelvicsense.com. I also have a Facebook page as well, Pelvic Sense. So I hope to see you, hear from you, and I'd love you to join and start on your own healing journey and let me know how you're doing. Thank you so much.
Also, yes, and also I think Evelyn has something to offer everybody in the audience today.
Yes. Everybody in the audience, please email me. You can find my email at pelvicsense.com where there are blog pages and my contact information. I'm going to email all of you the book that I wrote, Healing Your Pelvic Pain with Science. Understanding the modern science of pain is a big step towards healing. So I'm so thrilled to be having this opportunity to share my knowledge and to help you on your journey. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much for joining us, Evelyn. We'll see you next time and let's stay in touch.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.